Hey guys, welcome to Solo ReacTalk. Today I'm going to be reacting to a Warhammer 40k lore YouTuber called Majorkill. Yeah, I've been requested that I should also look out for his videos. They haven't really given me a specific one, so I decided let me choose the God Emperor of Mankind explained by an Australian Warhammer 40k lore. Yeah. If you want to check out my previous reactions to other related Warhammer 40k videos, I'll put the card at the top. Just click on it and you'll be able to access them. Okay, let's start. 3, 2, 1, go.
G'day guys and gal. It's honestly a crime against humanity that it's taken me this long to detail the entire lore of the God Emperor of Mankind. I don't know why I haven't done it, I just assumed I had because it's so obvious. Also, a bit of a view goldmine, and whilst I have probably missed the gold rush, I'll just make my own because that's what we do. With lockdown easing in my country, I can also resume my quest to become a custodian and get that video sorted, which will be a lot of fun. Work can also resume on the artistically and classily nude calendars. So
I'm assuming Majorkill is a custodian fan. That's good. That's already good in my books. Okay.
Sorry, I had to sound pretentious about it. YouTube has been a bit weird lately, age restricting and demonetizing one of my videos, which I would say is quite tame by my standards, but you know, it is what it is. But yeah, good things coming through, and Majorkill stocks have never been higher. Metaphorically, of course, don't touch my stocks, you sneaky little. The God Emperor is the big man of Warhammer 40k. Whilst the rest of humanity is looked down on as a bunch of savages, the God Emperor of Mankind inspires awe, or fear, or both, in everyone, no matter how many tentacles they might have, and that is for good reason. Before we get started, another day, another Surfshark sponsorship delivered straight to your cranium. That's right, you guys have been getting so VPN'd up that they paid me to do a third Surfshark plug. Gnarly, or maybe it's just my charm. Either way, I've come to tell you about the best damn VPN with the best damn discount you'll hear about. For those of you that don't know why you should care about getting a VPN and just want to skip ahead into the video, stop being a Timmy and listen. A VPN is basically like becoming a super spy, allowing you to bypass government firewalls and restrictions in order to access the internet content in different countries. For me, that means I can now watch South Park for free, as well as thousands more Netflix shows. For China, that means being able to access basic human rights, and for Americans, that means you can pretend you aren't American, which by how things are over there at the moment, could
we haven't even started with the
be a pretty desirable option. You can do all this international browsing with your identity completely hidden as well, so no chance of getting into a complicated situation. You got it? Good. Now generally VPNs can be pretty expensive. However, with a huge 83% off exclusive Majorkill discount that you can get by clicking my link below or using my discount code Majorkill, the price becomes a total non-issue. That's $2.20 per month for an extremely easy to use and secure VPN. And if you don't like it for some strange reason, then they also have a 30-day money-back guarantee. Thank you Surfshark VPN for sponsoring this video. Today we'll go over who the Man Emperor of Mankind is and where he came from. We'll discuss how powerful he is, as well as his current state as a god tier vegetable and how alive and conscious he actually is. I know you probably already know a lot about our golden Skeletor, however there is a lot of confusion and debate out there about him, his knowledge and his motives, so today I'll clear all that up. Let's get into it. The universe of Warhammer 40k is really old. Whilst the Emperor might seem like some kind of supreme being that dunks on the libs left, right and center, there have been characters before him that would be able to knock him off his high horse. He's not even really a god. Heresy! Oh god, not again. After some important self-reflection, I have decided that the Emperor, in his shining golden glory, is the most powerful character to ever exist and is indeed a god. Happy? Yes! Okay, good. Please leave now. Our glorious daddy's story starts in the 8th millennium BC. There was a number of powerful shaman on ancient Earth who enjoyed doing their shaman things, such as turning into wolves and howling and doing other stuff that I can't talk about until after the 3-minute mark of this video due to YouTube getting really weird recently and threatening my livelihood. Their favourite activity, however, was reincarnation, which means they could die and come back to life whilst retaining their memories and personalities. Can't blame them, being immortal is a vibe. However,
this reminds me of a movie that I've recently watched. I think it was called The Eternals or something. Not The Eternals. It was something else about, people who are reincarnated over time, Once they're done with this lifetime, they're reincarnated into a new body and everything. I just can't remember the name of the movie. Yeah. Oh, but interesting. Okay.
As the realms of chaos started perking up a bit over time, this reincarnation process began to suck a lot, as most of the shamans were getting snapped up during their trip in the warp and were suffering from some good old-fashioned demonic molestation. I think we are past the 3-minute mark now, so that call should be okay. All the shaman got together and were like, Dirk Bakala, Muhammad Jihad, which was shaman for, ladies and gentlemen, we face a crisis of not only our souls, but the souls of mankind. To combat this new demonic threat, I suggest we all sing Kumbaya, then bash our brains in with a rock. And the wise shaman replied, Durka Durka Durka, which was shaman for, yes, if we all die simultaneously, our souls can merge and form a super being, which will be really awesome. My only question is, can't we just OD on some sweet ass psychedelic grass or just jump off a cliff? The whole head bludgeoning thing just seems unnecessary. And to that, the shaman leader was like, shut the fuck up, Greg! Don't be a pussy, we're using the rocks. Hence all the shamans beat themselves to death, their souls merging together. Hence the man, who would be known as the God Emperor of mankind in the future, was born.
But okay. All these shamans killed themselves and their souls merged into one being. Doesn't the Emperor have personality complex issues? Like one time he's a man, then the next he's a woman, and then the next he's an old man, next time he's a young girl. I mean, yeah, I don't know how that's going to work out for him. Mentally, I'm saying, but interesting. Okay.
Majorkill, that origin story of the Emperor is extremely old and outdated. It's probably not even canon anymore.
Shut your stupid heretical mouth, Timmy, before I let thousands of shamans go inside you. Sure, it's an old origin story, but as of yet, it has not been retconned or contradicted. As such, that is his current canon origins. If you disagree, then I'll fight you. At his birth and early life, he was called Neoth, but that's a stupid name, so we're going to call him the Big E from now on. He was born in a shitty little village to a boring-ass family. As he grew, he began to remember his previous lives, the thousands of them that there were, and his powers also began to materialize. Now, when power comes before wisdom, there is fun to be had. Hence, after his uncle necked his dad, he killed his uncle, then left the village to go have a bit of fun. I imagine he was a bit of an egomaniac for a while, and probably plowed an excessive amount of minge. A lot of people say that the Elder were the cause of Slaaneash's birth, but I reckon the Big E had a hand in it, after all those benders he would have had. I mean, just look at the man. Whew. I ain't gay, but yeah. Anywho, as the Emperor grew out of this phase, he began to understand his responsibility to guide mankind, and he gave it a good shot, sometimes as a background advisor and sometimes a little bit more involved. He didn't want to control humanity, only to guide it. This went pretty well for a while. Bar, a couple world wars and genocides, but can't win all of them.
Wait, was the Emperor also reincarnating? Like, he lived out for at least 100 years, and he died, and he came back again? Was that happening, or was he immortal since the day he was born until the 40th millennium? He's always been existing. Oh, okay, the second option on that is kind of amazing and a bit worrying. And I'm also asking the question, why hasn't he been the Emperor of mankind since the very beginning then? Why does he only want to become the Emperor once Earth was destroyed and he started to rule the Earth that was ravaged by techno-barbarians? I think that's what they were called. Yeah.
One of the Emperor's many abilities was the power to see potential futures. He knew that although humanity would soon enter into a golden age of space exploration and colonization, it would all come crumbling down. To prepare for this, the Emperor discovered the presence of a large shard of the Void Dragon, which had been chilling out and hiding since Vol kicked it in the nuts. The Emperor grabbed his sword and dragged his big heavy balls to the Void Dragon, and the two fought. The Emperor proved triumphant. It's not really known how, as the Emperor wasn't super duper powerful by this point, and the Void Dragon is the strongest of the Catan, but it's likely due to some Batman tier planning as well as his psychic powers.
Wait, a Catan was a Void Dragon? Okay, that's interesting.
Two things that the Catan aren't really fans of. The Emperor then locked the Void Dragon away deep in Mars. Whilst the Star God slept, its power flowed throughout Mars and gave the Martians increased technological intellect and knowledge. Intellect that the Emperor would then go on to leverage in order to conquer the galaxy. Mankind entered into its golden age and begun to colonize everything. At this point, the Tau, Necrons and Tyranids weren't a thing, and the Eldar and Mankind didn't really fight. Orcs were also pretty weak after millions of years of the Eldar exterminating them, so it wasn't a very hostile galaxy. Chaos also wasn't really a thing. While this was happening, the Emperor had begun gathering like-minded perpetual scientists to his cause, in order to learn how to bioengineer super soldiers from his base in the Himalayan mountains. He ignored a lot of what was going on, even ignoring the Men of Iron uprising, when mankind's machines turned on them, and ignoring the horrific warp storms that began to appear as the Eldar began murder-fucking Slaanesh into existence. The Age of Strife had begun, and mankind had a shit one. However, once human psykers started appearing in the galaxy, the Emperor sprung into action. The presence of psykers meant a growing chaotic power. The galaxy suddenly had a timer on it. The Emperor had to unite mankind and teach the psykers how to use their power for good and not evil.
But the goat. This is weird. I mean, he's amazing. I mean, look at all that gold armor and the red jewel in the middle and everything else. But then there's a goat in his gauntlet. That's interesting.
This was proven by the fact that countless human worlds began to die as demons used these untrained psykers as living portals in which they could invade planets from. With the knowledge he had gained himself and the other Perpetuals, the Emperor created the Custodes and Thunder Warriors, super soldiers he could use in order to conquer the now dusty Mad Max-like planet. His warriors smashed through the Techno-Barbarians as more of the planet fell under his command. Whilst the Custodes were perfect, they were hard to create and could never be made in bulk. The Thunder Warriors could, however they suffered from hectic cancer as well as small dick syndrome, causing the Thunder Warriors to expire pretty quick and become pretty unreliable. Hence he worked with his perpetual buddies to create the Astartes, smaller and weaker than the Thunder Warriors but much more disciplined and didn't go off like a banana left in the sun. After winning one of the final battles for the Emperor, most of the Thunder Warriors were rounded up and gangbanged by the Custodes, who massacred them. This marked one of the first instances of how ruthless and cold the Emperor was. The Thunder Warriors were loyal to the Emperor, and there was likely other solutions on how to deal with them, but ambushing and backstabbing them on the night of their greatest victory was quick, clean, and easy.
Yeah, the Emperor wasn't alone on Earth being an immortal. There were other perpetuals, as you would call them, who were also there. I'm just wondering who they were. And were they also created from the power of, shamans sacrificing their lives and then transferring all their consciousness and souls into one being? Is that what also happened to these other perpetuals that were existing on Earth? And I guess, if I'm understanding it correctly, the Emperor waited for humanity to be at a certain level of technological development and psyche development or psyche evolution in the human genome, if I can say that. And then he started to take interest, and that's when he decided, okay, let me take over the Earth. Because, as I've said before, I've been wondering why didn't he take over the Earth as soon as he was able to walk, Why hasn't he been our emperor since the 8th millennium? I think that's when they said he was born. So yeah, I just found it quite interesting that he's been waiting all this time, going through all these wars, going through all these developments on Earth, and only when the Earth was at the verge of collapse, or it had already collapsed, and psychers were all over the place, that's when he decided, let me rise up and take over the Earth. So yeah, that's quite interesting. And also, what I also found interesting is that the Emperor was not alone in creating the Custodes and the Thunder Warriors and the Astartes. He had help. So he's not all-knowing. He is not a super genius. He has some considerable knowledge, but he is not, a solo guy. He doesn't just make things all by himself. He has people to help him. Okay.
The Thunder Warriors did survive, and they staged a rebellion, charging the Emperor's palace, which went about as well as you could expect, especially since the Astartes were in full swing by that point, and Constantine Valdor, a Custodes so powerful he could likely kill a Primarch in a duel, led the defense. Let's just say, the Thunder Warriors got raped with a capital R. With his shockingly cold actions in efficiently conquering Terra, as well as his ambitions being significantly greater than the other Perpetuals initially believed them to be, one by one his allies abandoned him or straight up turned on him, raising their own armies against him. One by one he neutralized them. He did not want to kill them though, hence if a Perpetual was beaten or fled into hiding, he generally left them alone, despite knowing exactly where they were. All of the Perpetuals abandoned him, bar Malcador, who, while he didn't agree with all the Big E's choices, wasn't a naive dumbass and knew the Emperor was the best shot humanity had. The gradual loss of the Perpetuals was what drove the Emperor to create the Primarchs. Originally, he was happy to have his immortal buddies as his commanders, but he needed to replace them when they fucked off. Combining his DNA with Erdar, the second most powerful Perpetual, as well as making a very questionable bargain with the gods of chaos, he was able to create 20 demigod super commanders. He then used those demigods to create 20 legions of demigod super soldiers, who were the Space Marines we all know and love. Now Erdar, like the rest of the Perpetuals, did also turn on the Emperor. For some reason, she thought the Emperor was going to use the Primarchs, her children, as primary school teachers or some retardedly low-paying shit like that.
Wait, so the Primarchs have a mother? Well, from past videos that I've watched about the Primarchs, or where they discussed about the Primarchs, they've said that the Emperor created them out of his own genetic code, so they don't really have a mother per se. They're just test tube babies. So this is quite interesting. Eredar is the mother of these men, if you could say that. That's interesting. Okay.
Instead of the galactic commanders that he had envisioned them as. Hence she allowed Chaos to open up a portal in the baby Primarch's gestation room, and then she then tossed all of them into the warp. Great mother she was. Each Primarch's destination was not random though, they all landed on human-occupied worlds which suited them greatly, other than Fulgrim and the Khan, who was swapped by the Eldar's meme god for a laugh. It could even be said that the Emperor knew this would happen, and allowed it to occur, as he never got revenge on Erdar, despite knowing where she went into hiding. After all, many of the Primarchs were turned into such legends because of the planets they landed on. Primarchs raised by the Emperor directly could have become too vanilla and basic, lacking those zealous strokes of genius which won the Imperium so many wars during the Great Crusade. Anywho, with the Primarchs gone, the Emperor began his crusade using his new legions of Space Marines. He was able to enlist the aid of Mars, who had become a technological powerhouse, as he planned it to, by pretending to be the avatar of their machine god, as he fixed the toaster just by touching it. They granted him a huge fleet of powerful ships. One by one the Primarchs were found, with only
Wait, he had to just touch a toaster and then everybody on Mars venerates him as a god? Okay. I don't know if that's a joke or is he serious about that?
Primarch number 2 and 11 being killed by unknown means. It's implied that the Emperor ordered them to be killed as they probably refused to join the Imperium or had buddied up with some Xenos. The humanity clapped the galaxy's cheeks. The Emperor's psychic might, though, begun to reach its limit, as he was simultaneously leading a crusade whilst also powering a machine called the Astronomicon, a device which acted as a lighthouse and allowed the Imperium to use the warp. Hence he decided that after a great victory on Ulanor against the Orcs, he would return back to Terra to come up with a permanent solution for mankind's problems with chaos. Now the issue here was that the Emperor believed that ignorance is bliss. He refused to acknowledge chaos and barely told anyone about it. A few of the Primarchs had a pretty good idea about it, and others just thought that chaos was just a cuddly friend, looking at you there Magnus, but no one really understood how bad chaos is for your skin.
For your skin. That's interesting. So the Emperor kept the warp demons and, entities in the warp as a secret from all humanity. That's interesting because, he, I'm assuming, has always advocated for knowledge and for the sharing and the cultivation of knowledge. So I wonder, why did he keep this as a secret from all of his Primarchs and the rest of humanity? I mean, these are things that I think everybody should know about, so that they can be studied, it can be analyzed. It shouldn't be feared. It should just be understood and then probably used as a resource, and also find ways to defend yourself from warp entities. So I'm just wondering, why did he keep it a secret all this time?
So when the Emperor anointed Horus as the new War Master and then went back to Terra to work on his solution, no one knew what he was doing. Over a number of years, this perceived lack of trust was a big contributor to the Horus heresy, aka Magnus definitely fucking did something wrong. What the Emperor wanted to do was open up the Eldar Webway for mankind's use. The Webway was a series of interdimensional tunnels that the Emperor used for galactic travel. It went through the warp, but was protected from it. The Emperor wanted to remove mankind's reliance on the warp for travel, hence slowly starving the Chaos Gods. This was important, as if mankind continued to rely on the warp as more and more psychos were born, demons would have a lot more ways in. By doing this, the Emperor could starve the Chaos Gods and permanently beat them. He also wanted to keep the project secret, as the Imperial navigators, who had built their fortune on warp travel, would likely try sabotage the project, along with Chaos and even the Eldar, who weren't too happy with their webway being taken from them.
Okay, that's actually a very good explanation why he would want to keep such a project secret. Especially if there are those who use the warp as their own, like a monopoly. They use it as a monopoly for space travel. Their entire existence would come under threat, since the Emperor is now creating an alternative way for space travel across the galaxy. So yeah, I understand why he would want to keep that a secret. Because I was about to say that, he could have just called his Primarchs and told them, like, over the phone. I don't know if they have phones here, but I'm assuming they do. You could have just told them over the phone, like, hey guys, I'm at home, I'm building this new transportation system. Just keep the fort active until I come back. Something like that. But now I understand that, the Emperor was using, could I say the webway is property belonging to the Eldar? Maybe, I'm not sure. But, he was going to use a realm that's mainly being used by the Eldar, and he was going to take away a monopoly of warp travel from the Psychers, who use it as, as navigators through the warp. So, yeah, it's understandable.
Eventually, Horus's hair loss, combined with him just being a bit of a little entitled shit, turned him to chaos. I guess him getting stabbed with a chaos knife also didn't help, but he made the choice in the end. In order to try warn the Emperor of Horus's betrayal, Magnus astral projected and smashed through the webway to reach the Emperor and warn him. See, Magnus had been banned from astral projecting or doing any warp spaghetti, as he was being an irresponsible dick about it, and he didn't know what the webway was, only that it blocked him from reaching the Emperor. Let's just say the Emperor wasn't happy that his webway project was now full of holes and being overrun by demons, so he called Magnus an ugly red piece of shit and told him to fuck off. the Emperor deployed the Custodes, Sisters of Silence, and the Mechanicus to the webway in order to try clear it of demons, whilst he sat on the Golden Throne and tried to hold the whole thing together with his powers. But it was useless. Day by day his forces died as the demons gained ground. With his attention focused on the webway, he wasn't able to go out and deal with Horus and the other traitor Primarchs, who had been winning some decisive victories over the Primarchs loyal to the Emperor. Eventually Horus made it all the way to Terra and sieged the planet. The Emperor was like, "Alright, enough of this bullshit." So he went into the webway and killed every single demon he could see with a snap of his fingers and a flick of his dick. Then he sealed the webway shut, forever dooming his plans to remove mankind's reliance on the warp. He then told Malcador to sit on the Golden Throne and hold the webway shut whilst he gave Horus the spanking of a lifetime. This was a pretty sad moment, as the Emperor knew that Malcador would not survive sitting on the Golden Throne. It was a very uncomfortable throne. It's more akin to sitting in an Iron Maiden than a seat for an Emperor. The Biggie grabbed his two favourite sons, Rogel Dawn and Sanguinius, and took them up to Horus's ship. Unfortunately, Horus wasn't done fucking with everyone, hence he messed up their teleportation, causing our heroes to get separated. Now all the lore from here until the Emperor becomes a god tier wheelchair bound battery is subject to change, as the last few Horus Heresy books are about to drop, and the books have retconned a number of ancient Horus Heresy lore. However, the current lore is that Sanguinius finds Horus first and the two fight. Sanguinius, having pretty much carried the loyalist forces in the battle, was exhausted and wounded, and Horus, juiced up like a 5'10" roid monkey on Venice Beach, was able to kill him. The Emperor then finds Horus, and despite Horus looking evil, sounding evil, killing Sanguinius, and, most of all, being bold, couldn't bring himself to kill Horus, hence more or less allowed Horus to beat the shit out of him.
Okay, I've seen this image before. So Sanguinius is the guy on the floor. The guy with the wings, the angel wings. Okay, alright. And then this is Horus and the Emperor. Alright. Boldness does not lead to this, Majorkill. Come on.
Losing an eye, an arm, his throat, and his spine. It's only when the legendary guardsman Olanus Pius faced off against Horus and got obliterated that the Emperor realized Horus sucked. No shit. And decided to blow him up using a soul-destroying Kamehameha. I think the lore in this will be changed though. The Emperor had been set up as this cold, ruthless man that makes sacrifices for the good of humanity. His sudden warm-heartedness and refusal to nuke Horus as soon as he sees him is very jarring and off character. I have my own theories on what actually happened, which if true, would be the biggest holy shit big balls move from Games Workshop ever. I might cover it in a different video. With Horus dead and the arrival of the Dark Angels, Ultramarines, and Space Wolves, the forces of Chaos are routed and are hunted all the way back to the Eye of Terror. The Emperor is carried to the Golden Throne by Rogel as Malcador turns to dust. The Emperor gives one last decree before entering into a coma and beginning his long and painful job as a battery for the Astronomicon, as well.
I thought Malcador, he was a perpetual, is he not? Okay, so then he's dead right now, but he'll come back. I don't know when exactly, but he'll come back with all his memories and his experiences, just like how the Emperor's past lives did, their transference into one body. I'm assuming that's how it's going to happen, right?
Was continuing to hold the webway shut. If that webway door opens, demons will flood Terra and ruin everything, so yeah, not what you want. In his new half-dead state, the Emperor is unsurprisingly not very chatty anymore. Most of his attention is on keeping the Astronomicon lit, so he can't micromanage stuff as much as he used to. As such, the Imperium slowly lost each of its loyalist Primarchs, and the following rulers decided to twist the Emperor's vision and turn everyone from an atheist into devout fanatics. Ironically, this has worked in the Emperor's favour, as all the praise he now gets allows him to access new godlike powers, such as summoning the Legion of the Damned or turning people into Imperial Saints. There are times when he does directly intervene however. During the Age of Apostasy, Georges Vandier, that dickhead, ruled the Imperium and nearly caused it to collapse due to how poorly he was running it. The Emperor spoke to his sister of battle and basically told her that old mate George was fired, hence she fired his brain from his skull, saving the Imperium. Another intervention was when a Custodes who was destined for greatness tried to become a companion of the Emperor, basically an elite Custodes who guarded the Emperor forever. However, on his final test, the Emperor blocked him and forced him to fail, meaning he was then assigned to important missions out in the galaxy, missions that likely would have failed without him. The Emperor also spoke to Guilliman when Guilliman returned to Terra. Finally, one of the biggest of the Emperor's interventions was when Guilliman was about to fight Mortarion. Morty trapped Guilliman, but then the Emperor possessed some chick and told Morty to suck a fat one, and then he freed Guilliman. So the people that are like, "Ooh, the Emperor isn't alive, it's all a myth and propaganda, you can suck my cock." Despite his power, the Golden Throne is failing. Now, I made an entire video about what would happen if the Emperor died or the throne failed. You can see it here, but yeah, it would be pretty bad, and something has to happen to prevent it, because that's where it's trending at the moment. It's unknown what will happen to the Emperor, if he will ever return to a glorious fleshy form, or if he will continue to wither away. There is the theory of the Star Child as well, which is probably not canon. Basically, in order for the Emperor to muster up the will to kill Horus, he had to dispel his compassion. This compassion turned into another Emperor called the Star Child, which resides in the Warp, and upon the Emperor's death, or unification with the Star Child, he will be reborn. This is kind of the plot of text-to-speech at the moment, but we will need to wait until the next Horus Heresy books until we know if this thing still exists. It seems like at the moment, he doesn't even want to be brought back. Can't really blame him. Fuck dealing with Tyranids. And that does us for today, guys, the life and kind of death of the God Emperor of Mankind. Obviously there is more to this story, so I encourage you guys to read up on novels such as The Master of Mankind. But yeah, no one watches me for my length, only my girth. If you enjoyed the video and want to support the channel, then Patreon is the place to be, with only $1 per month giving you access to a boatload of Warhammer hentai. Hit the subscribe button, then hit the real subscribe button for more glorious golden content. Join the Discord for more memes, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.
Bow to me.
Okay guys, that's it for the God Emperor of Mankind explained by an Australian Warhammer 40k lore, Majorkill. Yes, this was enjoyable. Some funny moments in it. Yeah, the Emperor wasn't alone. You know, there were other immortal beings on Earth, or perpetuals as you'd call them. Malkidor and the mother of the Primarchs, Eredar. Yeah, that's quite interesting because from previous videos on the Warhammer 40k lore, during the discussions of the creation of the Primarchs, I haven't heard anyone stating that there was a mother. I've always heard about the father, who is the Emperor of Mankind. You know, I have never heard of Eredar being a participant in creating the Primarchs. So that's quite interesting. What's also interesting is that the Emperor is not a singular being. He is many beings. I don't know how many shamans died, but must have been a lot of them. All becoming one soul, and that soul now becomes Neonth, or the Emperor of Mankind. That was also quite interesting. The dragon, the Catan dragon that he slayed or he wounded and transported it to Mars. When did all of that occur exactly? I'm sure that this was done way before humanity began to expand throughout the entire galaxy. So yeah, I'm just wondering, when did he do that? How did he get to Mars and, you know, bury it under the Martian soil? Yeah, that's quite interesting to hear about. I didn't know that the Catan became dragons. I remember from the Templin Institute Necron Dynasties video, they said the Catan were like almost humanoid, giant mechanical machines, I think. Yeah, I can't remember right now, but yeah, I don't think they've ever talked about them being in, you know, different versions like dragons or other forms of magical creatures or anything like that. So that's quite interesting. I don't know much about the Primarchs. I only know Horus, really, because of the Horus heresy. Sanguinius, because he died and he was a famous Primarch, I think. And yeah, I don't know anything about Magnus. But he's the guy who's red. The guy I've questioned about him actually being a Primarch and being the Emperor's son, because, you know, all the other children of the Emperor look humanoid, but he looks like a demon. So I wasn't really sure about him. I questioned his the paternity of of Magnus being, you know, the son of the Emperor. I said that, you know, maybe we need Jerry Springer in this for a DNA test, but yeah, I think I need to learn more about these Primarchs as well. Yeah, because I got a bit lost with some of the names he was describing about, you know, the story behind how the webway was destroyed, and he had to prevent it by, you know, sitting on the golden chair and having his custodians and sisters of silence fighting against the demons. And there were other Primarchs. Rogel Dawn, I know about him because of the Black Templars. And there was another one, I don't remember. Yeah, Sanguinius, and who else? There was another one who returned to him when he was in a skeletal form. I forgot what's his name now. Yeah, but there's a lot of Primarchs, and I need to study on those Primarchs. I need to know who they are. So I think that will be my next Warhammer video, probably next week, where I focus more on detail on the Primarchs. Primarch number 2 and 11 were killed, probably because they did not want to listen to the Emperor, or something else happened to them. That's quite interesting, because I've been told that, you know, it's very difficult to kill Primarchs, so that's quite interesting to hear. And the webway, I know the webway was used or created by the first ones during the time when the Necrons were becoming what they are now as we see them, the mechanical machines. During that time, that's when the webway was still existing, and it was used by the first ones for their own transportation throughout the galaxy. So when they were defeated, then the Eldari controlled it, and now the Emperor of Mankind wants humanity to control it. I think that's how it goes. Yeah. So there's a lot of information here that I have to go through, but this was a very interesting video. I think I'm going to check out more videos from Majorkill. He's kind of funny. Basic human rights for Chinese people is YouTube and all other westernized social media applications. That's funny. That's really funny. Okay, guys, that's it for today. Remember, if you like the video, please give me a like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Click on notification bell if you want to be up to date with my latest videos, and I'll see you next time. Okay, bye bye.